Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning, and I'm coming at you with what is, if you're listening in real time, the final episode of Confident at Work in 2025. And what a year it's been. So, like many of us at this time of year, I've got to thinking about 2026 and reflecting on 2025. And I wanted to share with you today 5 things that I think I say should, but I would also say could do with leaving behind in 2025 if you want to grow your confidence at work in 2026. So if you haven't already, do go to the show notes and sign up for the Confident at Work 2026 Masterclass. That is a free training that we run every January. There's already hundreds of people signed up and you are welcome to join us. So that is a 60-minute class taking place on 28th of January, or you will get the replay delivered to your inbox if you sign up. That class is going to take you through and give you the 60-minute tour of everything I know about how to build confidence at work. I'm going to help you work out where your blockers are and work out a plan which will help you feel more confident in 2026. It's going to be great. You're invited. Come along. Invite your friends. All right. So here are the 5 things that I think you should leave behind in 2025 in order to grow your confidence in 2026. And the first one is judgment. But specifically, judgment about the fact that you may currently not be feeling so confident at work or as confident as you would like to. So I find that for most people that I talk with and for most people that I work with, they've got this added layer on top of already feeling not as confident as they want to, this added layer of judgment. And it's judgment about the fact that they're currently, let's say, at a 4 and they should be at a 7 or an 8. And I know that it is tough to not feel as confident as you want to at work. I've experienced it and I sit with people who experience it every single day. Believe me, I get you, I feel you, and I know what it's like. And I also know that if you've got this added layer of judgment about where you currently are on top of everything you're experiencing, it's just an added level that you don't need. Imagine if someone else was judging you for how confident you were right now and expecting that you should be somewhere different and judging the fact that you're not. Would it help you? No, of course it wouldn't help you. It would hinder you. It would be an added stress, an added pressure, an added thing for you to worry about on top of the fact that you're already not feeling so confident at work. So that is my first thing, my number one, that if you can leave that judgment behind in 2025, it will help your confidence to grow in 2026. And leaving that behind, leaving that judgment behind might simply mean just accepting that right now you are where you are and it is what it is. Maybe you're struggling to speak up in meetings right now. Okay. Maybe you are shitting yourself every time you have to do a presentation. Okay. Maybe you are double checking things and second guessing your decisions. Okay. I can agree with you that it might not be ideal and that it's tough. And if you can accept that that just is where you are right now, that's the reality of the situation, that is going to help remove that extra added layer of stress that you just don't need. So that's my first thing to leave behind, judgment. My second one, I guess, is related, but it's embarrassment. I know that it's tough. And I know that if you're having those moments where you feel panicky, maybe you're going red, maybe you're stumbling over words, you're having all kinds of physical symptoms or things that worries, doubts that you're having to work really, really hard to hide. I know that you might be feeling embarrassed about the situation as it is right now. I get that. When someone sits down and talks with me one-on-one, they generally haven't told anybody else in such detail how they're feeling at work. And maybe you're the same. Maybe you listen to this podcast and you're like, oh, yeah, that's me. And if you haven't shared it with anybody else, I wonder if that's because maybe you have some judgment about the fact that it shouldn't be happening. But maybe number two, you're also feeling a bit embarrassed about it. And I get that. It's not easy. However, one of the things that I would love to encourage you to leave behind in 2025 is feeling that embarrassment about it. Because what if you don't need to feel embarrassed? What if you don't need to be ashamed about who you are and what you're currently struggling with? What an idea. Maybe you don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed about that. Maybe you're just fine. And yes, you are struggling with something. What if you felt no embarrassment whatsoever? I would wish that for you, honestly. I would wish that for everyone who talks to me. I know how hard it is to sit and tell someone all of this stuff and to reveal to someone the inside of your own head and your own heart. And I know that sometimes it's embarrassing. And I know that sometimes when I'm getting coaching even, I'm like, I feel embarrassed about this thing that I'm saying. I just force myself to say it. But that embarrassment and that kind of climbing inside of I called it a shame shell earlier in the year, climbing inside that kind of little shame cave and being like, oh God, I shouldn't be like this. I'm so embarrassing. This is wrong. This is not good. This is bad. This means something awful about me. Let me just tell you that it doesn't. It never did. And it never will. And if you ever come and talk to me, know that you never, ever, ever have to be embarrassed. Ever. And maybe this is linked with number one, because sometimes when we remove that judgment, we just don't have to feel embarrassed anymore. We can be free from that. We can be liberated from that. We can allow some of that weight that we might be carrying around that to leave. And geez, wouldn't that be nice? Eh? Sometimes this stuff thrives in silence, and sometimes just the sheer act of bravery in telling another person, even if it's me, even if you just email me and say, here's where I'm at, here's all the things I'm struggling with, and I am not ashamed. I'm going to be like, yes, I will email you right back and I will be like, go you fucking legend. There's hope there. It goes from all being internal, which this stuff usually is, to being external, to reaching out. So that is my number two. If you can leave behind embarrassment. And number three, this thing that I think you could and should leave behind, is thinking that it is some kind of personality flaw of yours that you are feeling this way right now, that you are not as confident as you want to be. Most of the people that I speak to just assume that it's some kind of personal failing or personal flaw that they feel like they do. And if you have made that assumption, I really want to challenge it. And I really want to challenge you to leave it behind because, one, it makes you feel terrible, like there's something just intrinsically wrong with you. And then it's kind of hopeless, right? Nothing can be done. Also, I want you to leave it behind because it isn't true. There is no thing inherent about you that means that you cannot feel confident. When you are competent, there are very good reasons why you don't feel confident at work. You may not know what those reasons are. You may not have figured that out yet. But let me tell you, every single time I sit down with a client, and this is bar none, I can say this with absolute confidence, there is always a reason and there is always a good reason. And sometimes there are multiple reasons. And guess what it never is? A personality flaw. Something about that individual which is just so fucked that they can't feel confident at work. That is never, ever, ever what it is. And hear me say that is not, it never has been, and it never, ever will be with you, the reason why you're not feeling confident at work. There are so many things, and I'm going to devote an entire episode to this in 2026 because I think it is so important. There are reasons why your confidence is low, and those reasons might be that you have had the confidence knocked out of you somewhere along the line. It may be that you were not privileged enough to be in an environment where confidence was kind of bred into you and you were just taught to be entitled and confident about every single place that you went. It may be that you have not had access to some of the things other people have access to. It may be that you are the only black or brown person in your department, in your team, at your level. It may be that you're the only woman. And all of those things come with a price tag in terms of confidence. It may be that you are neurodiverse and there is stuff that you're struggling with and that you've been hiding and that you've been masking, and that's the reason why. It may be that you have had a boss before, or you have a boss now, or you're in a team which is toxic or difficult, and you've learned certain ways of behaving and keeping yourself safe, and those translate to low confidence. It may be a mixture of all of those things, or maybe it's something different. I am yet to ever find a client, and I do not think I will ever find a client where there is not a damn good reason why they feel as they do, why their confidence is the way it is right now. And when we can find out what those reasons are and look at them objectively, instead of thinking and believing that it's some sort of just personality trait or there's just something wrong with you that means it has to be this way, then again, there's hope. Then again, there's something that you can do. You can build from there. So if you're going to leave one thing behind in 2025, I recommend that it is that. Knowing just that it is not a personality flaw or just some kind of thing about you, which means that you can't be or feel confident. There is a very good reason, or good reasons, why your confidence level is the way it is right now. Number 4, the fourth thing I think you could leave behind, you should leave behind, is thinking it's just you. And I know that you probably know this logically because, I mean, how many episodes has there been of this podcast now? I mean, we're getting towards 200, right? And better believe there are a lot of people listening to this podcast. People share it with their friends all the time. It's grown 999%. That's mad, isn't it? This year. So what does that tell you? It's not just you. And sometimes, especially because we've got judgment about it, we are embarrassed, we think it's a personality flaw, we kind of keep it to ourselves, we keep it in our head, we don't really tell anyone, we might not share it. And then we can just assume, and this is a fatal assumption, but we can just assume that everyone else has just got the shit together all the time and they're all just feeling great and they're all confident and they're all just, but that isn't really the way it is. Think about all the other thousands of people listening to this podcast. I'll bet you there's someone in your workplace listening to this podcast, or one just like it. There might even be someone on your team listening to this podcast. I might even be coaching your boss. How would you know? You wouldn't know. So that is one thing that I think you need and you could just leave behind. This is not just you. And what happens when you know that and you remember it and you believe it is when you're at work, you don't just make this awful comparison all the time where you're always the butt of the joke, where everyone else is fine and it's just you who's finding things difficult. Because believe me, honey, it is not just you. It never has been just you and it never will be. This is one of the reasons that I like to do stuff in groups. So obviously a lot of my work is one-on-one with people. It's private. But we also have our membership and we have our trainings. And part of the reason that I do that is because I need you to know that it's not just you, and not just know in a logical way. I need you to sit and hear and see that it's not just you and feel that it's not just you. Because when you know that, you ease up with some of the judgment, you ease up with some of the embarrassment, and you think, oh gosh, yeah, she's struggling in the same way I am. Gosh. Wouldn't have known that. Wouldn't have thought that. She's successful. She's doing well. Or you can think, gosh, he's struggling as well. And he's overcome it. So I would encourage you, because I know that it will help you to grow your confidence, to know this. It is not just you. And number 5, the final thing that I'm going to encourage you, implore you even, to leave behind is thinking that there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I know that you're listening to this podcast, so you must have some kind of vague hope, at least, that there is something that you can do about the way you're feeling at work right now. But for a lot of people, it stays as a kind of vague hope. I've got to say, I talk to people who will say, I've listened to the podcast for a year yeah, some things have changed, but I'm not where I want to be. So here I am talking to you one on one. I've got to do something about this. And I'm actually glad for the person that they've got to that point, even if it took a lot of pain and difficulty, because at least that's the point where they finally think, do you know what? Maybe, and often it's out of desperation, but they think maybe there's something that I can do because I can't carry on like this, or I don't want to carry on like this, or I'm just so sick of feeling like this. That tips you into the hope that maybe there is something that you can do. And for the vast, vast majority of you, which probably includes you, there is something that you can do. It is possible for you to feel more confident at work. It might take a bit of work. It might take a bit of focus. Hey, it might even take some money, but it is possible. That's what I need you to know. And that is what I need you to remember, because sometimes it can feel like all a bit hopeless. Like I'm in this awful situation, but this is just the way it's got to be. And I've got to get through the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years of my career just feeling like shit whilst pretending everything's okay and doing a good job at the same time. It doesn't have to be like that forever. There are things you can do. There are skills you can work on. There are areas you can clear up and clean up. You can be at work feeling calmer, more confident, and more in control. I've watched it happen so many times. So leave behind that thinking that there's probably nothing that you can do, because there is. Even if it's not with me, even if it's with someone else, there is something that you can do. You will be able to get more confident at work. And if you want to do it with me, then come and talk to me about private coaching. Come and talk to me about joining the membership. We have options for you. But that is the thing that I want you to know. There is something that you can do. You can feel more confident at work. You do not have to feel like this forever. So there's my 5. They are the things that I would pray. That is my Christmas wish, that you could actually leave those things behind in 2025 or whenever you're listening to this. And again, if you haven't already signed up, go to the link in the show notes, sign up for our Confident at Work Masterclass 2026, and let's make a start, shall we? All right. I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident at work.